This week on the Brody File, another week, another exclusive. Look who stops by the Brody File this week. Hey, isn't that Jeb Bush? And he's thinking about running for president.
If I decide to run for office again, it will be based on what I believe, and it'll be based on my record. And that record was one of solving problems completely from a conservative perspective.
I'll look at the pluses and minuses of another Bush running for president. Is he ready for the critics?
I will be able to, I think, manage my way through all the chirpers out there.
Plus a T-evangelical battle between Rand Paul and Marco Rubio. Two different candidates and two different political spins on Christianity.
There's a war on Christianity, not just from the liberal elites here at home, but worldwide.
Plus, praying to Jesus at a preschool graduation lands a teacher in hot water, not holy water. The Brody File is next. And welcome everybody to the Brody File. We are glad you are with us. Well, look, this week we have yet another exclusive interview with a potential 2016 Republican presidential candidate. Drum roll, please. Mitt Romney. Nah, just kidding. He had his last hurrah in 2008. Been there, done that. We are talking about Jeb Bush. That's right, George W. Bush's kid brother. And he's thinking about running for president. Now, look, I know you're saying, please, I don't know about another Bush for president, but let us be clear here. If Jeb Bush gets in, he's probably going to be considered the Republican frontrunner. Now, while he may not have instant credibility with the base of the party, he definitely has credibility with the mainstream media. Because why? Well, he's considered a mainstream Republican, and that will have him in the top spot or the slot, or however I can pronounce it, at the beginning of the potential 2016 presidential election. All right, well, look, Bush is not a flamethrower with the rhetoric. He is a guy who's looking to compromise in order to get solutions, and he's not interested in throwing red meat to the base, so we'll see how all of that plays out. Anyhow, there we are. We went into full stalking mode yet again, and we found Jeb Bush at the Faith and Freedom Coalition event in D.C. We talked about the possibility of running for president, but we also spoke about the future of the Republican Party, gay marriage, and his faith. Here he is, Jeb Bush. The state of the Republican Party, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it. Where do you see evangelicals' role in all of this? Because really, there is somewhat of a fight for the kind of soul of the Republican Party. Many evangelicals feel the culture is not where it needs to be, and it's going down pretty quickly.
I think we could focus on all of our disparate parts, all the points of disagreement that conservatives have, and never win again. My general thought is that the focus ought to be on how you get 50 plus 1, not how you win amongst 45, And that's kind of where we are, where everybody has a view that's slightly different than one another, and certainly social conservatives are a huge part of a winning coalition, which means that we have to change our language to be inclusive, but not abandon principle. And that's not as hard, I think, as people make it out to be.
Are you concerned a little bit about some of the vitriol we hear on talk radio and some of this me versus them mentality? Yeah,
I think people are trying to win out. The coalition, the conservative coalition is broad. There are libertarians, there are social conservatives, there are economic conservatives, there are those that focus on foreign policy, and everybody's trying to stake out their position right now. And what we ought to remind ourselves of is we win when we're united. And what would be the uniting principles for a conservative coalition to win? And my personal belief is to restore our greatness through economic growth, to reform the things that are broken, and to remind ourselves the power of stable, loving family life. If we got those three things right, and our country today doesn't get those right, that we would be winning politically, but more importantly, restoring our country's greatness.
A couple buzzwords that you mentioned, one in the speech, the non-traditional families.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned the word inclusive. evangelicals hear those words and they go, oh my goodness, gay marriage, and the train has left the station. How do you navigate the gay rights issue?
Well, first of all, just the terms I used were related to the fact that if you wander around America today, there are a lot of grandmothers taking care of kids. There are a lot of single dads that are doing the work. It's a lot of single moms. And so the non-traditional family that I was speaking of is the struggle in the great majority part of our society where families are really struggling to be able to do what's right, and they don't have the infrastructure of love around them that makes it harder to be successful. And that to me is the bigger issue than the issues of gay rights and other things. I think, look, I think we can be respectful, we can be compassionate, we can talk about this in non-judgmental terms, but ultimately for our country's success, traditional families are what are going to end up leading our renewal. That moms and dads that are husbands and wives that love their children with all their heart and soul is going to be the path to restoration for our country.
But as it relates, just so I understand, as it relates to gay rights and gay adoption and all of this type of stuff, where are you on some of the, President Obama has evolved over the years. We see the polls shifting with millennials.
There's been huge change in culture. My own personal views are, I believe in traditional marriage, but I would emphasize in the public square the need to restore our country's greatness through prosperity and through reform and through a recognition of the strength of family in general. And the more we get into the fights that divide us, the less likely it is that we will be governing again.
How has your faith, your Catholic faith, kind of shaped your, if not public policy, how has it informed your views as it relates to things like Medicare and some budget cuts? And I know the Democrats love to beat up on Republicans and Paul Ryan and all of that.
My faith informs, when I was governor, it gave me strength. It gave me serenity to make really tough decisions in public life. Sometimes you're confronted with things you never could have imagined. It guided me in many ways, and the power of prayer was hugely important in my life. And so it informs me about the questions of the dignity of life more than anything else. I think life is precious from beginning to end. One of the great challenges our country is going to face is end-of-life issues. I worry about casting aside people because they're not productive or they don't fit the criteria of what someone decides outside of a family structure is important. And I worry about issues where babies are aborted. I mean, the question of life itself is something that goes way beyond politics to me.
I am going to be the only person that ever doesn't ask you about 2016. I'm not going to ask you that because everybody does. I am curious, though, about... well, good, you wanted to say something. No, I did have a question, though, about some of the critics who say if someone like Jeb Bush did run, that he would be this mainstream Republican candidate who wouldn't appeal to the base of the party. It's on the internet. It's got to be true. I mean, what do you say? What do you say to those critics?
Look, it's if I decide to run for office again, it will be based on what I believe, and it'll be based on my record. And that record was one of solving problems completely from a conservative perspective. I cut taxes every year. I shrunk the size of government. We reformed the things that were broken. Our Medicaid program was broken. We reformed it. Our education system was a complete disaster. We created a great business climate that made Florida a place to do business and for families to prosper. I acted on my core beliefs on social issues as governor. I will be able to I think manage my way through all the chirpers out there.
Well, look, we must say that once our Jeb Bush interview hit the internet, we got tons of comments. Many of them, by the way, not kind to Jeb Bush. They think he's too moderate or definitely a big government conservative, but not a true constitutional conservative. So here's a sampling of what we received on the blog. Mark Hallenberg writes, quote, "As an evangelical Christian, please don't push Jeb on us. Christians need a strong and bold Christian conservative leader. Jeb is nice, but too entrenched in appeasement to evil." Then there is Barakalip Sen. I don't know how he pronounces that. Anyhow, this is what he says. "The Bushes have all proved they are globalist and do not have the United States' best interest at heart. This man is not the best we can do. I want a true conservative, not a globalist agenda shill." Then there's Ernie S., who says, "Read my lips. No new Texans." And MJ opines, no, 4 no's, not again. Jeb did get some love, by the way, from George Lovenguff, who says, quote, "Governor Jeb Bush is quite formidable as well. He doesn't seem to have the amount of carryover baggage that other possible candidates do." But Robin TN says, Jeb Bush, the front runner, you're joking, right? I mean, with the great conservative bench we have, Cruz, Rubio, Jindal, Haley, etc., how can any serious voter view this third-rate milquetoast dynasty rhino with anything but a strong feel of wanting to vomit? Let's make a deal. No more Clintons, no more Bushes. Hasn't the country suffered enough? You know, if Bush runs, one area where he may have some potential problems within the GOP primaries is on immigration. He has been pushing for comprehensive immigration reform for some time, and he outlined those thoughts to the conservative faithful in his speech to the Faith and Freedom Coalition folks.
We should deal with the millions of people that are here illegally to give them a path to legal status, but they should pay a fine, they should learn English, they should not receive any federal welfare payments, and they should not violate laws during an extended period of time. And in doing so, if we have the right enforcement, we will create sustained economic growth over the long haul.
Here are some interesting poll numbers. In a head-to-head matchup, Hillary Clinton actually beats Jeb Bush 48-40. But if Bush runs against Vice President Joe Biden, or as we call him, Uncle Joe, Bush leads 44-38, so some early food for thought. All right, when we come back, Rand Paul says there is a war on Christianity. We check in on the front lines. More on that next.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help!
If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
And welcome back to the Brody File. All right, look, the B block is here, but Jenny, nowhere to be found. We understand Jennifer Wishon is dancing up a storm somewhere out there on vacation, but she is not here on the Brody File this week. So, with no Jenny, we had to think of what to do in this block, and so we came up with an idea. Get ready for the T-Evangelical segment. Kaboom! The T-Evangelicals are on the scene again. Look, in case you don't know whom we're talking about, we define T-Evangelicals here at the Brody File as conservative Christian, typically evangelical, who are also big supporters of the Tea Party. And on a sidebar narcissistic note, we wrote a book about it. It's available on Amazon.com right now. Anyhow, there are 2 probable GOP presidential candidates who would be considered T-Evangelical type candidates. There's Senator Marco Rubio and Rand Paul, another senator, by the way. They both spout Tea Party rhetoric and Christian theology, yet they do it in 2 very different ways. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play you some of their speeches from the recent Faith and Freedom Coalition event in D.C., and then we're going to listen, all of us together, and look at the different angles they take when mixing politics and Christianity. We'll come back and discuss it and dissect it. First, Marco Rubio, and then Rand Paul.
when freedom is threatened, when tyrants rise, when radical Islam threatens the peace and safety of the world, if America does not step forward and say this is wrong and something should be done about it, who will? And so I'm not advocating that America get engaged in every conflict on the planet or that we try to solve every civil war. But I am saying to you, there is nothing to replace us. I promise you it's not the United Nations. I promise you it's not China. I promise you it's not the European Union.
It saddens me to see that in these countries there are supposedly our allies, that they continue to persecute Christians. It angers me to see my tax dollars supporting regimes that put Christians to death for blasphemy against Islam. Countries that put to death Muslims who convert to Christianity, and countries who imprison anyone who marries outside their religion. I say no more money to countries that are doing that to Christians. There's a war on Christianity, not just from the liberal elites here at home, but worldwide.
All right, now that we've heard from Rand Paul and Marco Rubio, it is time to hear this week's Brody File commentary. So what do we have here? The big divide seems to come on foreign policy. Rubio argues that our Christian faith compels us to eradicate evil around the world when we see it. And while he doesn't say we should get involved in every conflict around the world, he definitely has more of a traditional standard Republican view when it comes to foreign policy. He definitely appears more hawkish, and his worldview is defined by a Christian faith that sees the world that way. Now, Rand Paul, on the other hand, thinks that this war on Christianity that he talks about compels him to not get embroiled in overseas conflicts and starts to send money to those governments and societies who are persecuting Christians. He says, forget about that. Now, that's more of a libertarian view, but it has its merits. So, what we find ourselves with is two views, both using Christianity as their base, and when the 2016 presidential primaries start, T-evangelicals are going to be faced with choosing one of them. Is it going to be Paul or Rubio? Which side are you on? I mean, maybe they both have good points here, but you can only pull the lever for one of them. All right, when we come back, can you guess the U.S. state with the most Muslims in it? The answer next.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
And welcome back to the Brody File, everybody. Time now to check in on the Obama administration. And yes, President Obama is still, sorry to say it, in damage control mode. You know, this is only a 30-minute show. We really don't have time to detail every nook and cranny of every ongoing controversy within the Obama administration, I mean, that would simply take up too much time and would give us an Excedrin headache. So instead, it's time to zero in on this whole government phone tapping story. Look, President Obama just recently did a long sit-down interview with Charlie Rose from PBS where he defended the National Security Agency's wiretapping information gathering program. Now, of course, his administration has come under a whole lot of criticism because Americans think that the government is spying on their emails and phone calls. Well, the president says Americans really don't fully understand what's going on. So, in our attempt to be fair and balanced, to coin a phrase, here's the president in his own words.
What I can say unequivocally is that if you are a U.S. person, the NSA cannot listen to your telephone calls, and the NSA cannot target your emails.
And have not.
And have not. They cannot and have not, by law and by rule, and unless they, and usually it wouldn't be they, it would be the FBI, go to a court and obtain a warrant and seek probable cause. The same way it's always been. The FBI, if in fact it now wants to get content, if in fact it wants to start tapping that phone, it's got to go to the FISA court with probable cause and ask for a warrant.
But has FISA courts turned down any request?
Because, first of all, Charlie, the number of requests are surprisingly small, number one. Number two, folks don't go with a query unless they've got a pretty good suspicion.
Should this be transparent in some way?
It is transparent. That's why we set up the FISA court. Okay. Look, the whole point of my concern before I was president, because some people say, well, Obama was this raving liberal before, now he's, Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney sometimes says, yeah, he took it all lock, stock, and barrel. My concern has always been not that we shouldn't do intelligence gathering to prevent terrorism, but rather, are we setting up a systems of checks and balances?
You get the sense that the story is not going away anytime soon. All right, let's move on to some other news now. There is an abortion bill moving through Congress, but despite support in the House of Representatives, the Senate will most likely reject it. And by the way, the White House says they're going to veto it. What a shock. The bill would ban abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy unless the woman's life is in danger. And there would also be exceptions for rape and incest victims. The bill is sponsored by Congressman Trent Franks, who is hoping that the gruesome details of the Kermit Gosnell abortion doctor trial will really wake up Americans to the horrors of abortion. Well, look, abortion isn't the only socially conservative issue in the news. It seems same-sex marriage is in the headlines every single day. Well, now, a poll from the Pew Research Center looks at the religious makeup of the gay and lesbian community. So here's what they found. It turns out LGBT people are not as religious as the broader American population. Did it really take a poll to figure that out? Anyhow, here are the numbers. About half of gay people, 48%, say they don't have any religion whatsoever. Then just 17% of them say religion is very important in their lives. By the way, roughly 80% of gay Americans said Islam, Mormonism, and the Catholic Church were unfriendly, and roughly 75% of gay Americans said evangelical churches were unfriendly to them as well. And now to Beaumont, Texas, where a teacher is in some trouble because she began a preschool graduation with a prayer. Horror of horrors. The teacher asked one of her students to lead a prayer that ended with the words, "In Jesus' name." Well, some parents complained, and now there's an investigation into the matter. Oi gewollt. One last story now to share with you. Can you take a guess when it comes to which U.S. state has the most Muslims and which state has the least? Well, here's the answer. Got it? Ready? Illinois, the most Muslim state, 2.8% of the population identify as Muslims. Montana, the least Muslim state. Did you know that just 0.0034% identify as Muslim? It's true. Speaking of Muslims, our colleague Eric Stakelbeck is coming out with a new book. That's right, you can pre-order it on Amazon.com. It's called The Brotherhood, America's Next Great Enemy. Eric teaches us all about the frightening truths about the very dangerous group, the Muslim Brotherhood. It is not exactly a bedtime story for the kiddies, but it is a must-read for sure. All right, we're back in a moment with our Oy Vey moment of the week.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
And welcome back to the Brody File. Well, look, before we say goodbye this week, we want to leave you with some words of wisdom. We've got 3 words. You ready? Here we go. Immigrants are fertile. Hey, those aren't my words. Those are the words from this week's winner of the Oy Vey moment of the week. Ah, yes, Jeb Bush is the man behind those words. Here he is at the Faith and Freedom Coalition event in D.C., and folks, this is called inartful phrasing.
Immigrants create far more businesses than native-born Americans over the last 20 years. Immigrants are more fertile, and they love families, and they have more intact families.
Can we just rewind that once again? Did he really say that?
Immigrants are more fertile.
Yes, he said it. Fertile Immigrants, new reality series on the Bravo network, coming soon. Oy gewollt and oy my. We here at the Brody File, by the way, would like to cut Jeb Bush a little slack because it does seem he was attempting to explain how immigrant families typically come in large numbers, so therefore they're fertile. Anyhow, it didn't come out very well at all. And by the way, for the record, the Brody File is definitely fertile because we keep pushing out shows week after week. All right, that does it for this week. Until next time, everybody, God bless. Have a great week.